Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and before we go any further, don't forget to hit the subscribe button somewhere on the lower right hand side of your screen. That way we all move on with our lives, we're all happy, and we can enjoy the rest of this video. Today I have another episode of Monday Metagaming, where I cover some of the latest industry-wide news, share some channel announcements and reports, and finally wrap it up sharing with you all my weekly experience of gaming, some of the games I played, who I played them with, and the things that transpired throughout. So without any further ado, we're going to go on to the news. And there wasn't too much news this week. One notable news item for me, at least, it wasn't really announced, but I saw it on Board Game Geek as I was using the advanced search feature. And it's a new game coming out later on this year by Uwe Rosenberg. Big fan. I'm a big fan of Uwe Rosenberg and his games. And it's called Sagani. And Sagani is a tile placement game. Well, again, as I mentioned, I'm a big Uwe Rosenberg fan. I'm a big tile placement fan. And Uwe Rosenberg has been venturing into that mechanism recently. I mean, of course, we've always, for many years, he's had his polyomino tile placement games, but he's kind of ventured into different terrain recently with a game like Fairy Trails, something that's a little bit more like Carcassonne-like. And now we've got Sagani. So I'm curious, interested to see. It says it's for ages 8 and older, so it lends me to believe that it might be a easier, lighter game that even children can play. I'm curious. My interest is piqued, and I'm very much excited about that. And finally, the last news item I'll be sharing today, and it's a big one, and it's the official cancellation of Gen Con. We don't have, Essen had been canceled already. Origins, I think, is still pending, or I think they postponed their convention for later on in the year. And Gen Con has officially canceled their 2020 convention season. And I will say this, I've never been to a convention. And there's a lot of factors going on with that. First of all, the family dynamic, my responsibilities within my own home and my family, with my children, in particular my son who's on the autistic spectrum, keeps me rather occupied. And also, honestly speaking, as the years have gone on, I find myself to be more and more of an introvert. If you would have asked me a few years ago, I think I was more towards the extrovert side of the spectrum. I never considered myself a full-blown extrovert, but I once considered myself to be pushing closer towards that side of the spectrum than the introverted side. And I find that as the years progress, I've become more introverted. Yes, I'm here doing this channel, and even that is a little bit of a challenge, considering those changes that have taken place in my persona, in who I am, in how I identify, how I self-identify as an introvert. So, you know, the convention scene, while it sounds neat, it's not something that I'm like desperately dying for, but I get it. A lot of people do like it. A lot of people, that's how they get their gaming in. That's how they get their big group gaming in. And of course, you know, the latest releases and all that other stuff. So I feel bad. Lots of bad things going on because of this, you know, pandemic. And that's the latest casualty, Gen Con. And now we will move on to channel announcements. So, first of all, we had a little bit of residual subscribers from the board game giveaway that was announced this past week. I got 6 new subscribers early on in the week. However, as the week trickled on, I lost 3 subscribers. Maybe not necessarily those 6, but perhaps a few from the prior week who signed up just for the board game giveaway. They did not win, and they found out that I am a fraud and want nothing to do with my channel. So, what can we say? But it is what it is. We still had a net of +3 new subscribers, which brings our total for the channel to 122 subscribers. Again, I'm pretty satisfied with that. We have over 7,300 views now as a channel. Also, some announcements. Tomorrow I will be posting my top 10 Rio Grande games. So This past week, I did my top 10 Fantasy Flight games. Check that out if you haven't already. The prior week, I did my top 10 board game publishing companies, period. And now I'm zeroing in and focusing in on Rio Grande Games as a company. So check that out tomorrow. Also, I am pushing on 2,000 followers on my Instagram account. If you don't follow me yet and you have an Instagram, please don't waste any more time and go over and check that out. I am at When Harry Met Board Games 7, and I am approaching 1,900 followers as we speak. And the reason I mention this is because when I hit 2,000, sometime after that, I will be having another giveaway. It won't be a YouTube exclusive giveaway like my last one. It will be primarily focusing on my Instagram audience, but I will announce it here on the channel as well, with a few additional details that might earn my YouTube subscribers a couple more entries into this contest. So sometime in the near future, stay tuned. I hope to hit 2,000 followers very, very soon. So that's it for the channel announcements. Now we're going to go to the recent plays. And this week was a phenomenal week for gameplay as far as I am concerned. I had 28 plays. You are not mishearing me. 28 plays this week. So first we're going to start off with the games that I played with my wife Lily this week, and it was a little bit of a lighter week for us for many reasons. Some good, some neutral, some bad, a little bit of in between, but we got some good gaming in. 4 really good games. The first game we played this week, oh wait a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. I'm sorry, I misquoted. 6 games. Gotta make a correction right here. 6 games we played this week. And the first game that we played this week was this game. I didn't even have it ready yet. And that's 7 Wonders Duel. And this is a 2-player iteration of the bigger game 7 Wonders. Bruno Cathala collaborated with Antoine Boza to turn his game into a 2-player experience. Really, really neat. Takes away the pick and pass mechanism, which is my favorite part of 7 Wonders. I did post a review of this on my Instagram account just recently. I like this game a lot, but I do like 7 Wonders a little bit better. But hey, 7 Wonders is a 3 or more player game, and due to the circumstances, 3 or more player gaming isn't really getting done. So it's great to get that same 7 Wonders feel, same 7 Wonders flavor. We also played Castles of Burgundy, which we've been playing a lot lately, designed by Stefan Feld. This is a really neat game, point salad type of game like Stefan Feld is known for. Players are drafting tiles and placing those tiles onto their hexagonal estate, which is made up of a bunch of hexagonal spaces where you're going to be placing those tiles. And each of these spaces, you know, is configured in such a manner to separate it into separate regions. And there's different terrain types, color-coded terrain types on your estate. And you're drafting the tiles and matching them. And there's basically a nice and neat, you know, drafting mechanism where you're using your dice as your actions. And your dice, you know, permit for you to draft certain tiles on certain spots and to place them on certain spots on your board. And manipulating the dice or mitigating the role of the dice through the use of some worker tiles that you draft throughout the game. All of that is basically the challenge of this game, to optimize your options and basically try to fill as much of your estate as possible and score as many points in diverse ways. Really neat game, fun game. My wife really does not like this game nearly as much as I, but she is slowly growing into this game, I believe. We also played Robinson Crusoe, which we've been playing lately, and this is designed by Ignacy Trevicek. Great, you know, cooperative game with some neat worker placement in it. Vicious, ruthless, mean game. We played a game of this, and we did even worse than our first time, which makes me wonder if we got a rule or two wrong during the first time. But we did really, really bad. I think we lasted till round 5 or 6, and then we died out of a potential 12 rounds for the initial scenario. So we didn't even make it halfway. But hey, what can I say? We did have fun playing it. Neither one of us, we've been feeling a little bit low and under the weather this past week. We don't know what's going on. Hopefully we're okay. Fingers crossed. But that might have contributed to us not being on our A game and doing a little bit better at this. But we still are having a fun time exploring this game. And we haven't even scratched the surface because, again, we're still doing the first scenario. New games for both of us this week was Pandemic the Cure. This is the dice version of Pandemic, and I am a huge Pandemic fan. My wife, Lily, not as much. She likes the game. She appreciates it. I think I'm a bigger fan of co-op games in general than she is. And in particular, you know, she doesn't like my wife doesn't like playing co-op games and then being frustrated with defeat. I kind of like to rise to the challenge and say, hey, you know, the game kicked my butt last time, but next time I'm going to get the upper hand. Well, that didn't happen in Pandemic the Cure. We played this game twice and we lost both times. I think we did a little bit better the second time, but we lost both times. And this game is really, really neat. I love the modifications it makes. It still has that same Pandemic feel and flavor. It's a little bit more abstracted, a little bit more pulled back, but at the same time, the dice rolling mechanism works here, and the way each player and their unique character gets their own unique set of dice that have different faces on the die. Really, really cool, really neat. The way the track works, the infection track and the outbreak track is really cool as well. There's just some really neat features in this game. The way you trigger events and earn, you know, currency in order to buy these event cards. I like almost everything that they did with this game. I would go as far as to say that this game has a chance, to me, to pass Pandemic. And again, I love Pandemic. Pandemic is one of my absolute favorite cooperative games of all time. And it ranks pretty decently on my top overall games of all time as well. And this game has a chance. I need to play it more. It's still too early for me to say, but I like what I see. I like the fact that it is a little bit of a filler. It's shorter. However, it seems very difficult. It seems very swingy. Of course, you're dealing with dice, and dice cannot be controlled like cards can in some ways. Yes, there's the shuffle, but once the cards are shuffled, they are where they are. Here, there's the constant randomness that you have to encounter and deal with and sometimes overcome. Sometimes the randomness works in your favor, but sometimes it doesn't. So really cool, really neat. Again, curious to see how it plays, curious to see how good we can get. I feel like this game might be better or easier at 3 or 4 players than it is at 2, while Pandemic, I would probably say, is the opposite. I think 2 is maybe a little bit easier. That's just my opinion. But yeah, this was a very fun game playing. And then another new game that we played this week, and that was Pillars of the Earth by Michael Renick and Stefan Stadler. This is a worker placement game, a grail game of mine for many years. When I first got into the hobby, this was out of print. Finally, it came into print. I waited a while. I bought it. Waited a while some more. And then finally played it. This is one of the games that I've been looking forward to playing in recent months the most. And I will say this. Really good game, really fun worker placement game. However, and here's the context. I've played other Michael Renick, Stefan Stadler games, in particular Cuba, which I've mentioned a lot on this channel. And Cuba gets a lot of hate, or at the very least, a lot of lack of love coming from other people. I don't hear a lot of people talk about Cuba. It's out of print. That doesn't help. I think I've only played this once. We only played this once. I think that this is not going to pass Cuba for me. And again, there might be some bias because my wife is from Cuba and the fun that we've had playing the game. But I just find Cuba to be a little bit crunchier, meatier, a little bit more substance. This is a great worker placement game, a great introductory worker placement game, I would say. I'm not saying an introductory game overall. It's still heavy enough to not be a gateway game per se, but it could be a gateway into worker placement, I think. And there's a couple other games that I've heard are good gateway worker placement games that I've yet to play, like what's it called, Stone Age or Lords of Waterdeep. I think this could also be a good one. I feel that the clockwise trigger of all the different events, I find that to be a very neat thing, and I feel it's very clean and streamlined. Easy to follow. It's the first thing my wife said. She appreciated how easy it was to follow the clockwise order of the different events that get triggered once all the workers are placed. I also like the master builder phase here, where you're drawing from a bag the different master builder workers, and each player has 3. And there's a little bit of chance there, right? A little bit of luck as to the order in which players are going to get to place their master builders, and choosing whether or not they want to pay or pass to hopefully place them down later on in the turn, but for a little bit of a cheaper price. The manipulation of the money, and at the same time trying to get the right craftsmen that are going to score you different victory points later on at the end of each round is cool. Again, aesthetically very pleasing game. I gotta play this game more. I am not saying I don't like this. I'm not saying that I think it's a bad game. Again, to give some context, Cuba is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. What I'm saying is, I thought it was gonna, I used Cuba as a reference, and I was like, if this is better than Cuba, this is gonna be even higher. I'm not so sure if it's gonna be higher than Cuba. Again, further play will tell. My wife and I have watched the Pillars of the Earth series. We never read the novels, but we watched the series, and we are big fans of it. We enjoyed it immensely. So that helped too, as far as the thematic immersion, the experience as we were playing the game, and as we related to the different characters that come out in the game and that you can draft. But again, still don't know. We're going to play a little bit more. Also, I get the impression that this is a better player. This is better at higher player counts, 3 or 4 players, than it is at 2, while Cuba plays perfectly fine at 2. And that's it as far as the games that I played with my wife this week. Now let's talk about some games that I played with my friend Andrew. My friend Andrew came over to visit us. It was the first time in 2.5 months that we've had another human being in this house other than the ABA therapists that come to help with my son Nicholas, who's home from school right now. So it was great to just have that social interaction, have another human being at the table, and we had some great gaming that was done. And the first game that we played was this one right here, Command and Colors Ancients. This is my favorite iteration of the Commands and Colors system, and I love CNC. I love myself some Memoir 44. I love myself some Battlecry. I love myself some Battlelore. These are all amazing games. But I think this is my favorite. First of all, it has the best setting for me. I love ancient times, antiquity. In particular, the Roman Empire, I think is really, really cool. And Carthage, the Carthaginians. And also, I just love the complexity because, you know, every Command and Colors game has a few units, right, that you have to, like, understand. Battlelore, which I really, really like, has a couple more units. But this has several different units that you could utilize that might be in the scenario, might not be, that you kind of have to remember. I love how adjacency and that, you know, holding onto the line, you know, units being next to each other can support each other and help each other. I find that to be cool. Just so many different things about this game that are really, really neat. You know, how leaders, you know, help. You know, there's generals in Battlecry and things like that, but how leaders help in this game, I find to be really, really crucial. A very important and vital piece of the game is how you manipulate those leaders. You know, your mounted forces versus your grounded forces. Really, really cool. The scenarios are all neat, nice historical scenarios. Really fun game. Very important note, Andrew, my friend Andrew, beat me for the first time ever at this game. So I used to beat him. Now he finally got away to this game. Great game, Commands and Colors Ancients. We also played Port Royal by Alexander Pfister. We played this twice. Nice, neat, push your luck card game. People give it a little bit of flack because its main mechanism and the crux of the game is push your luck. But let's be real. There's a lot going on in this game as far as manipulating that push your luck. First of all, the probabilities. You know, there is the fact that cards are discarded face down, so you don't have that perfect knowledge. You can't card count and guesstimate as to what the probabilities are. But you can use a little bit of your logic and stuff like that. And you're using this to draft. You're using you're pushing your luck to draft shipping cards or ship cards that are going to get you gold. They're going to allow you to buy different characters that are going to give you special abilities and victory points at the end of the game because you want to have the most victory points. And just managing that balance and knowing when to push your luck and when not to. And also drafting characters that help you mitigate your luck. Because again, It's all about luck mitigation. Luck is fine in a game as long as the game itself creates a mechanism which allows the player to have some type of control, some decision-making, processes in which he or she can decide which direction they want to go and how they can alter their luck, optimize their chances of succeeding, right? It's not just pure chance. And that's what this game does. The characters are neat. It's cool. I want to get an expansion. However, the expansions are not for the Steven Jackson Games edition of this. So I got to play this game a little bit more and see whether or not it's worth buying a new edition from scratch and then investing into the expansions. We'll see. We also played some new games for both of us, and that was, the first one was Euphrates and Tigris, which is a card version of the popular Tigris and Euphrates. And I've spoken about this game in this channel. Like that game a lot. I myself have mixed feelings about that game, not to mention the gaming community at large. But I have to say that I like this card version so far, with just one play. I like this card version more than I like the regular Tigris and Euphrates, because Tigris and Euphrates, first of all, I felt that it was very lopsided at times. It could suffer from a runaway leader problem. I feel like this is a little bit more challenging for a player to build that type of momentum. I know because, again, we played this game and the difference of the score was 1 point. And there was points where I felt like I was losing, but I only lost by 1 point. It was a very, very, very close game, down to the wire. A decision that I made in the last turn could have flipped it over and I could have won the game. But it's cool because in this game, to score a color, you have a hand of cards. You still need to have a card in your hand of the color you're trying to score. So if you have 2 red cards, you can't just play both of them and score 2 points. At most, you could play one of those red cards into your kingdom and then reserve that one other red card to put into your victory pile. Really cool, and makes you think more about your decisions. And it's also a little bit of a tighter, stingier situation, which I actually appreciate. Because again, that's part of the mitigating the runaway leader problem, because the fact that the game itself is stingy makes it hard for a player to just get carried away and just, ride their momentum into the sunset. So really cool. Nothing else really changes other than that. But I like card implementations of games, and it's a shorter game too. This is about 45 minutes, while regular T&E, Tigris and Euphrates, is an hour plus. Good game. We had a good time playing it. Tigris and Euphrates, as I mentioned, my friend Andrew won. And then the last game we played that evening was Tower of Babel, and we played this game twice. This is a game designed by Reiner Knizia and published by Rio Grande Games, and this is another game of Reiner Knizia that nobody talks about. This is an ancient-themed area majority game. I guess you could say worker placement too, to some extent. You're placing people, well, not really worker placement. You're not really triggering any powers, but area majority game, area control game. Really cool game because players are working semi-collaboratively to build the 8 different wonders of the world, because you've got your typical 7 wonders plus the Tower of Babel as if it would have been completed as an 8th wonder. And players are working together to chip in the resources needed. And each turn, all the other players, this is a 3 or more player game. My wife Lily, by the way, joined us for this game. All the non-active players can offer some of their resources, some of the necessary resources to build a wonder to the active player. And the active player has to choose one of those other players and accept their offers, combined with whatever contributions they need to complete the project. And then based on those contributions, players are going to place a certain amount of workers or pieces on those spots, trying to get a majority. Every so often, a scoring round will trigger, and one of those wonders, one of those completed wonders, when they're completed, will score based on the majority, secondary, and then finally a third scoring for anybody who has any presence there, right? Whether you're third, fourth, or whatever. It's cool because after each scoring round, you advance this scoring track, which means that every successive scoring round is going to score a few more points, right? And the discrepancy between first and second and third is going to grow. So each scoring round, each subsequent scoring round becomes more and more valuable, right? More and more crucial. Really, really cool game. It's very abstracted, as Reiner Knizia is known to be. The board is not the prettiest thing to look at. It's almost a little bit too busy, or maybe busy is not the word, but it doesn't stand out. It doesn't have that pop. And also, sometimes it becomes, maybe a little bit difficult to, instantly realize where you have the majority. Again, from a visual perspective, from an aesthetic perspective, from a graphic design perspective, leaves a lot to be desired. But gameplay, we had a good time. That's why we played it twice in a row from such a good time we had. I think I will be doing a review of this sometime in the near future. And those are the games we played with my friend Andrew. Then I played some games with my nephews and niece this week. We played Dominion, which, as people who follow this channel know, is one of our favorites as a family. In particular, we had a combination of the Seaside expansion with some cards from the Alchemy expansion, and we've been enjoying that combination recently. My nephew Alex pulled off a win, and I had a good, strong, solid second place in that game. Also, my niece and I, Caitlin, we played this game right here, which is Pandemic. And we played this game, and we played with the Virulent Strain expansion. And we did very well. We cured, I believe we cured 3 of the diseases. And we came I think we cured 3, or maybe we cured 2. I don't remember. But we did well. But we didn't quite get the job done, right? It came very, very close. We might have only cured 2. No, I think we cured 3. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. But I think we cured 2 or 3, but we did not win. At the end of the day, the virulent strain was too much, and we were overwhelmed with outbreaks, and the game ended, as is usual. But we had a lot of fun playing it. And that's it for my games with my nephews. Now let's talk about my solo plays. I had 5 solo games of Marvel Legendary, and in particular, let me show you which one in particular, which expansion I was playing with. I was playing with this one right here, Shield, and this was part of a review, a set of review copies that was given to me by Upper Deck Entertainment. I already reviewed a couple weeks ago Spider-Man Homecoming expansion. Now this week on Thursday, I believe, I will be doing a review and a preview of all the cards from this expansion. I played it 5 times to get a good feel about it, and I liked it. It was a good game. I'm not going to share too much details, but it was a good game, and we played 5 times. I played 5 times solo. Also, speaking of Pandemic, I played some Pandemic solo as well with the On the Brink. No, not On the Brink. I should say actually the State of the In the Lab expansion. It comes with a little 1-card module for solo play. Had a lot of fun. That was another close game. That came very, very close to winning the game, but not quite, right? So I lost, but that was fun. And also, I played this game, throwback from recent weeks, Escape, the Curse of the Temple, 10-minute real-time game, just chucking some dice. I usually play with the expansions, but the last couple times I've been just going back to the basics. Had some fun playing it. I did add a few more gems, because that's how you add difficulty to this game. Add some more gems. So I added some gems to add to the difficulty to make up for the fact that I played without expansions. And I won, and it was a very close game. But I won, and it was a fun time. And then finally, I played 6 plays of Pandemic the Cure by myself. And it's interesting because this game doesn't have an official solo variant. I'm sure there's one somewhere floating around the internet. But I played with 2 characters, and I played 6 times. And the reason why I played 6 times is because I wanted to play it first before I played with my wife, Lily. But also, I got obsessed. I played it 6 times in a row because I kept on getting destroyed and crushed. And I kept on thinking, if I play again, and I play again, and I play again, I might win this time. And after my 6th time in a row, I realized it's not going to happen. At least not in this session, Harry. There's something you haven't figured out. There's something you're not getting. There's something that's not working. Move on with your life. And that's exactly what I did. And that's it for all the games that I played this week. 28 games. It was exciting. It was fun. Please comment down below. Tell me what you played this week. Who did you play it with? Did you have lots of success, lots of failure, wins, losses? Let me know. I'm interested to see. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Thank you so much for those who already are subscribed, who have supported the channel. Some long-time supporters of the channel, some newcomers. Thank you again for all the love, all the attention that you give in this channel. It does not go unnoticed and it does not go unappreciated. Well, everybody, this is Harry from When Harry Met Board Games saying take care, have a great week of gaming, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.